And our recording has started now. So again, thank you so much for joining us as we talk about navigating Naviance. I'm Miss Slate. I'm the college and career counselor at the high school. And what I wanted to spend some time with you all here today is to go through Naviance as a whole and make it maximize how it works best for you. So show you and have a recorded video so you can go back and look at it to see how many tools and resources there are on Naviance, because there are really a lot. And sometimes it can be overwhelming to just approach it yourself. So I wanted to be able to give you all that kind of walkthrough and show you what you can expect from Naviance as juniors. We're moving towards the kind of college and career search and path, and thinking more about it as we look towards our senior year, which is wild, right? So this opening screen here, you can see the Naviance link is accessible here. I just have 2 small slides I'm going to show, and then I will actually be doing a live walkthrough of Naviance logged in. But this link is important for you to save, bookmark it. You can access it from the Chatham website as well, but definitely a good one to keep on hand because you'll be accessing it a lot junior year and senior year. And while logging into Naviance, for those who might be not super familiar, about a year ago, so in December of 2019, we had a change to our Naviance platform that allowed a new login system, which is awesome. It's called Clever, and it's very easy because before you had to save and remember all of your Naviance password, but now the same password that you use to log into your Chatham information, like mail, Schoology, all that kind of stuff, is the same exact password you'll use to get into Naviance. So yay, it's good. One less password to remember. So I, as an administrator, I log in a little bit differently, which is why I'm not walking you through that right now. So I have these screenshots here. When you go to that link that I posted, you're going to see the different types, pretty self-explanatory. You'll click the backpack student, and it's going to give you at the top a button, a gray button that says continue with Clever. So click that. It'll bring you, follow this red arrow to a screen here asking you to log in with your LDAP. That is, when you click on that, you'll see it's your username and your password. So again, like I said, your Chatham username and password, super easy. So I just wanted to go over that because I know sometimes people have forgotten about the update or you haven't logged in a while. So I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of that change. It's a good change. Okay, so without further ado, I will get started and walk through our features that are available to us on Naviance. So when you log in as a student, you're going to see this login screen. My student's name is first name Ms., last name Slate, so that's why you're seeing Ms. here. And if you scroll through the homepage, you're going to see my favorites, which is a quick access links for you to access certain resources that, again, I'll talk more about. You can see updates available here in the What's New, although we generally tend to use our Gmail for updates rather than the Naviance. So checking your Gmail will still be the best form of ways to get updated. And then important to-dos and tasks will be here. So for example, I've already started assigning tasks to juniors that have different due dates on them, and it will explain that to you again in a little bit as well. So that's your homepage, pretty simple. If you just want to log in and search a college, you can do it very quickly. But I generally don't work off the homepage. I usually go right to the tab that I'm interested in. And so you see these 4 tabs over here: colleges, careers, about me, and my planner. The one that has the most stuff in it is colleges, so we're going to save that one for the last. And then I'm going to start over here with my planner. So my planner is a resource. It is as it sounds. It's a planner tool. So it's nice to have everything all in one spot. So let's say you have a calendar. If you want to add things from your Schoology calendar to here, or you want to make this specifically college or career related deadlines, you certainly could do that. So that can be a nice resource for you. You can also see create goals. So if you know that you, like I mentioned before, that the brag sheet is something that would be due in a little bit. And I think about April I mentioned, so done for junior conference. So I'll show you here that you can add a comment and add a goal that helps you kind of define your goal and think about the things you need to be doing as you move forward in the future. So brag sheet is a very small term, little goal. You could put bigger goals on there, like attend a four-year university or go to school in the UK or something like that, right? There's a to-do list as well, so you can add different to-do lists. I already have one on here that I've completed. I made a to-do list. My counselor told me to research 5 schools that I may like, and so I marked that as done. So this could be great for just organizing your college and career to-do list. And then tasks assigned to me. This is what I was mentioning before. You're going to have those tasks that you can see the assignments that you need to be working on for in the near future. So I will, like I said, talk more in depth about what these assignments are when we actually get there, but just know that you have the My Planner section to kind of help you organize that entire administrative side of things, essentially. In the About Me section, also self-explanatory, it's about you, right? So, let me X this out. So in the About Me section, the biggest thing is they have something called assessments. They are different quizzes and tests to help you kind of identify personality traits and interests that you might be thinking about career-wise. So they can be really helpful. One of my favorite ones is called Learning Styles Inventory. You may have taken this as a freshman. If not, I highly recommend you do that because it tells you what kind of learner you are. So I know for me, I'm not very a strong auditory learner. I'm a big visual learner. So seeing that confirmed to me knows that when I'm going into classes and I'm working with my teachers, that's something I want to communicate, right? Like if a class isn't working for me, what I could say is, you know what, more visuals would be helpful for me in the future. So having these different kind of skills is high visual. I know myself. So having these learning style and these inventories completed can be really, really helpful. When we talk about the career planning process, there are a career interest profiler and career cluster finders. The cluster is more, as it sounds, again, a grouping of careers. So rather than saying teacher is the career, the cluster would be education, right? So it will identify different clusters that would be good for you. The interest profiler will actually identify different areas that you are interested in and might help you towards your careers. So for me, my highest, way higher than any of the other ones, right, was social. It was 18. So for me, that tells me that I should be in an occupation where it requires a lot of communication with people. I think counselor is a good fit, so that's good. So you can see these different types of resources that are available to you, which can be really helpful as you kind of determine, oh, the back button's not working. Hold on, hang on. Okay. So that you can determine what you might be interested in. So because you might have an idea, but you might need some more direction, and these assessments can help you do that. I always say, like, put on some good music, make some tea, coffee, whatever, and just like get cozy and go through these quizzes. They take like 15 minutes each. So at the bottom here, we have something called Documents Shared with You. So there's a Documents Resources folder, which I'll talk more in depth later. And then also they have that reminder again about those surveys to take. So this was one of those tasks that was assigned to you. It's called the brag sheet for counselor recommendation. It's essentially as it sounds, it's a brag sheet. It's basically us wanting to hear more about you, because while you may have a good relationship with your school counselor has a large caseload of students and might not be able to meet with every student and know you super well. So being able to fill this out is a way for you to demonstrate things about who you are. And essentially, this is what your counselor will help them use to write your letter of recommendation to schools. So basically what you're putting in here are things that you would want your counselor to share with admission offices, if you're applying to college and all that kind of stuff. So that again is in the About Me section because it's about you, right? I don't have any surveys in progress. I have 2 that I can still take. Strengths Explorer is really great. It identifies your strengths. Because oftentimes we're very negative on ourselves, right? So it's good to see the stuff that we're doing well. And then if I go to the top here, there are purple sections here as well. I can see my account and I can edit certain features in my account. I can use this resume tool, which I highly recommend that you start to use if you haven't already. Not so much because you as a junior in high school needs a resume, but more so because you as a junior, it would be beneficial for you to start thinking about the activities you do, the things you want to add on a college application or maybe a future job application. So just listing them here can be a really nice way for you to kind of help remember in the future, right? Because sometimes when we are ready to sit down as seniors and talk about how great we are, we forget. It's really easy. And sometimes it's hard for us to talk about ourselves. So adding these things now will help you when you go back at a later time to do that. So you can see I've added different things like honor roll or French club. I have a different, I earned a coding certification, so I added that there. I also added my work, that I work as a lifeguard. So there are plenty of things that you can add on there. Nothing is too small or insignificant. Working is very important for the college application process. You don't have to be the president of every club, right? You saw I'm in French club. I'm not the president of student council, but it's important to me. It's something that I'm involved in. You can easily add new things on here by clicking the pink plus sign. It breaks it down really easily into like different things you can add. So like for extracurricular activities, you can see it's pretty straightforward, right? It asks you to fill in all the things. It's like they're nice prompts. So I could say, I already said animal shelter, but I could say I work at an animal shelter, or something along those lines to add in there. So I'm going to cancel it because I'm good with my extracurricular activities. You can also print and export your resume, which is great. So printing is nice, but I can't remember the last time I really printed something. So everything is very digital these days, right? So I have some previously saved resumes. I also can click this pink plus sign here, and I can change what my current information I have on my resume, like on that resume tool site, is what's going to be populating. So I can say, resume 3, and I can choose which template I want it to be. So let's say, you know what, I like that template. It's like really nice and clean. I'm going to use that. Or I could say, well, I'm going to check number 3. I don't really like number 3. So I'm going to stick with number 1. If I hit continue, I get to choose which things I want to keep on it. So like, let's say I don't want to include the fact that I did the coding class. I could unclick it and I could do save resume, which is really nice. So that is a great resource. I highly recommend that you do. It saves it as a PDF. You can also transfer it as a Microsoft Word document, which is great. Okay, so that is the resume section. Test scores, your test scores will get automatically added in here. Essentially, once you take a standardized test, whether that be the SAT, ACT, PSAT, we will get the data files from the testing agencies, and we'll upload them as soon as we can. Usually it takes about like a month or 2 months for that to happen. So we update that for you. And then portfolio is another place where you can just add different different information that you have or things that you're looking for. Like if you have different goal planning, career planning, it kind of nicely outlines it all for you in case you want to use that to kind of summarize who you are as an individual, or like what you're thinking or what your goals are as you're moving forward. Okay, so that's the About Me and My Planner sections. Again, those are kind of more the administrative side of things. We're going to move over to the careers and the colleges section. Okay, so in the career section, just like with the colleges section, which you'll see, and on that homepage, you can type in any career at any point in time right from the start here. You'll see that every single career has a really nice page associated with it. So let's say I knew I was interested in being a vet. I could click here, and it's going to give this full overview of what that job is. It tells you what types of Holland interest codes you might like. So for example, if you remember, I had a high social score, so a vet could be a good fit for me. They tell you different types of jobs that are like it, majors that you can take, and they talk about those clusters as well. If you go over to these headings here, it also goes over like things that you should know and skills that you should possess in order to be successful in that job, what a daily day kind of looks like as a vet, and wages, which a lot of students are interested in as well. So we'll look at New Jersey since that's where we are at, and also nationally. It will go more in depth too in regards to other states as well. So it can, as you can see, it gets very, very in depth. One thing I like to organize the careers you're looking at. So it's one thing to look at them all, but it's another thing to organize that. And one way you can do that is by looking at careers and clusters I'm thinking about. So if you click on that link, it's going to be just a page of all the things that you are interested in. And you can do that by clicking on a heart button by favoriting certain professions. So for example, you can see that favorite button right here. You unclick it, it removes off your list. You click it, it goes right back on your list. So it can be really helpful. So I put a couple on here that I was interested in. I have a wide range of interests. And then based on these jobs that and careers that I put in here, it's suggesting different clusters or pathways for me that I might be interested in. So this can be a great way to just kind of compile what you're thinking of. If someone told you you might be a good lawyer, or you saw in a movie someone was an investigator and you like that, just throw it in this list. That way you can always go back and do more research into it at a later time. And then there are interviews available. So there are interviews from people within the world of work to hear about their experiences and what their path kind of looked like. So that can be really a great resource as well. Here are those assessments again that they're identifying. You can find those again in the About Me section, but it's nice because these point you to the fact that these are specifically, career-based elements and assessments. Okay, and so that is the career section. So now we're to the main event, I should say, as Naviance is often used for, or not often, it is definitely used, and it's the main purpose is for the college process. When you're a senior, what we're using Naviance for is literally the delivery of information. You're going to be requesting transcripts. You'll request letters of recommendations from your teachers through Naviance. So it's going to be a resource that's going to be super helpful for you, not just this year, but also senior year, because that's how we as counselors kind of see where you're at and make sure we're all on the same page and help you actually apply to colleges, right? So that, again, is still months away. Right now, where we are as juniors is we're thinking about exploring, right? We're thinking about the things that we want to be doing, where we see ourselves in a couple years, all those types of things. So I will show you some tools to do that, but I first want to give you a brief overview of this site here. So the first two sections, these purple sections in the colleges, that's where we're going to spend a lot of our time as juniors. If I scroll down, you'll see these two teal sections here. These are your senior year areas, right? And then the college visits. If you were a junior and you attended some of our virtual college visits, awesome. And you probably saw and registered here like you were supposed to. If you're not familiar with that, we will have that opportunity again in the fall for seniors as well to hop on to virtual visits and or in-person visits, depending on the status of things. And that way you can hear from actual college reps about learning about Penn State or learning about William Patterson or whoever to learn more specifically, especially if we can't always visit at certain times. So again, the bottom of this page is more for next year. Where we're going to spend most of our time, as I said, is right up here. Again, you can search for a college just by typing in the college name. I'll show you, similar to with the careers, each school has a really nice page as well. So if I click on the school, it sometimes takes some time to load. Here we go. It's going to give me a nice overview look here. Pretty pictures, right? Because they want to attract you. And I like to point this out because I think it's always a lot better of a resource than the actual website. Don't tell the schools I said that. But if you look at this and you see this kind of breakdown, you look through studies, we'll look through these in more in depth. It's very in your face, right? It's very easy to access that information. If you look at their website, whoa, like incredibly overwhelming, right? So I find this to be much more navigated, like much easier to navigate, excuse me. So I definitely recommend starting with that. You can look through here and see the different types of studies, their average classroom size, student retention rates, meaning how many students return for their sophomore year after freshman year. You can see the admission rate. So they have a 76% admissions rate. It shows the history of students who've applied in the past, not the specific students, right? But it shows us that last year we had 28 students apply and 20 students were accepted and we had 1 enroll, right? So that can be a really helpful resource. One resource here that's on every college page is something called Scattergrams. So in Scattergrams, well, not in Scattergrams, let me start with what Scattergrams is. So Scattergrams is essentially a chart that plots where you fall in relation to other applications from Chatham High School, in this case to Drexel University. So when we look at the Scattergrams here, we see that we're going to be looking at the weighted GPA, which is what we at Chatham use anyway. A weighted GPA essentially means it's factoring in the strength of the courses you took. So let's say you took an AP or an honors course or courses, you would likely have a higher ranked or a higher, value GPA because you're getting a higher value for taking that rigor level of course. And then you also can figure out here if you took the ACT or the SAT. I took the ACT. So if you look here, you'll see that there's a little blue dot here. That is plotting me. So that's where I fall in relation to students who have applied to Drexel University in the past from Chatham High School. If you look here, you see when I do SAT, you can't find me, right? Because I didn't take an SAT. So just make sure if you don't see yourself, check that first. And when I scroll down here, you can see a legend that goes through, it's very in depth, right? It goes through all the different check marks and what they essentially mean. So this dash mark here is the average GPA of students who have been accepted to Chatham High School to Drexel University. Ooh, yes, please extend my session. And so it looks like I pretty much fall almost right on that or not, or above that. So to me, what that tells me, if you watch the webinar from earlier this week, or if you haven't watched it yet, we talk about managing your expectations and identifying target, reach, and likely schools. This helps me identify that. So for me, this tells me this is a likely school. My chances of getting into Drexel University are pretty high, considering that I fit the profile of an average student. So sometimes we see less favorable scattergrams. For example, this one is always an easy example to show a scattergram that is just, like I said, less favorable. We're going to see a lot of red here, right? So here is where I fall, is blue. It's pretty obvious that this is a reach, if not lottery school, as I mentioned in the last webinar as well, because my profile, I don't fall anywhere around where a student has been accepted. We had a student that was accepted with a 33 ACT and a 4.7 GPA. So again, this is not a relatable example because Harvard is a reach school for literally any student applying to college. But I do show that just to kind of show you the difference between what a happy scattergram looks like and kind of what, like I said, a less favorable scattergram looks like. So using scattergrams is going to be kind of your best way for your counselor, for you to get an idea of how you look and managing your expectations for how things look for you in terms of applying to colleges and your chances of being accepted. So that's kind of just the college profile. You know that every school in the States has that option available to you. What I want to now show you, which is understandable, is you might be sitting here like, I don't know, I don't have any schools in mind, understandably. So I'm going to show you how you can find some schools. One of the first tools is something called SuperMatch. This is basically, as it sounds, a lot of these names are not complicated. So what you can see here is you can filter out different areas. So let's say you have no schools in mind or just a few schools and you want to add schools to your list. But you know that, for example, I want to go to school in the Mid-Atlantic. So that's kind of near us, near the Northeast. But for some reason, I really don't want to go to school in Delaware or DC. So I can filter those out, and it's going to now add schools for me. Excuse me. Here we go. So now it's going to add schools that fit that qualification for me. So there's schools that are within the Mid-Atlantic, not in DC or Delaware. I can also filter academics. So let's say I would like a bachelor's degree. And as I said, I wanted to be a vet. So I could look up pre-vet studies. And that will filter out for me as well. It's going to filter out schools that, again, are in the Mid-Atlantic, not DC or Delaware, and also have a pre-vet studies. So this is a great resource for you. It goes all the way to cost. It talks about athletics. So maybe you're looking for a specific sport. You also can choose by the different student body size, right? So if you really want a school that's closer to a Chatham, you might want to look up a very small school or a medium-sized school if you're looking for something in the middle, right? So again, this is still filtering all of those filters I applied. Sometimes I find that students say, Ms. Lee, I got 0 responses, like I'm hopeless. That's not the case. Usually what happens is maybe you over-filtered, like maybe the filters were so specific that not really any school exists in West Virginia that has pre-vet that also is 1,000 students, right? So we'll check those filters if you're having issues with that. So this is a really nice way to start out with your college search. Additionally, there's something here called College Match. So if you have colleges in your list that you're interested in, you can see that it's Naviance is going to pull other schools that you might be interested in. So let's say who apply to Clemson, you might also like USC or Auburn, something like that. So that can be really nice and helpful. Oh, excuse me, I want to go back here too. And if you see colleges that accept students like me, so this is all matching you, you can see different colleges out there that accept students who have a similar profile to me. So my student in this example has a 3.8. So these schools are showing as schools that have had accepted students like me in the past. So College Match can be a really easy because there's like no thinking done with that, right? Scattergrams I already showed you. So you can access that here through the Find Your Fit, or like I said, through the actual college. It's the same exact thing. It will bring you right to that same page. There's a college search here where if you want to go kind of back to the basics and just type everything in, it's the same thing as a SuperMatch. It's just asking you question by question and prompting you. So you can do your match that way as well. And then of course there's the college lookup. You just look up a school based on the name that you already know. So that can be really helpful as well. So that's kind of finding and researching schools. When you have schools in mind, or maybe you already have some schools in mind, similar to that career list, I'm going to highly encourage you put schools in your colleges I'm thinking about list. In this list, this is where you're playing around, like I said, exploring. You add all the schools here that you're thinking of, you can easily remove them. I've seen students who have had like 40 schools in here because people keep telling them, oh, you might like Cincinnati, or you might like Temple, or suggesting schools, or you heard something on a podcast, like a commercial or something like that. I don't know if students listen to podcasts, but I'm an adult, so I do. So sometimes colleges advertise there. So you can add them on here. That way you always go back. I always say it's better to add more and have a lot of like flexibility than have come here before your junior conference and be like, oh, I have no schools in mind. Where do I even start, right? So I think adding schools in here is a really good idea. This is where you and your counselor will work off of as well in your junior conference. That way they can talk about other schools that you might like and suggest those schools for you based on what you've already put there. So as I said in the previous webinar, and also which will be emailed to you because everything's through email these days, is you will get, we'll ask that you put at least 3 or 4 colleges on your colleges I'm thinking about list before your junior conference. Again, like I said, that way your counselor can prepare for the session, have an idea of maybe what you like, might be able to suggest another school similar to, Johns Hopkins that you put on there. So as you can see, I have a lot of, not too many actually, I have a good amount of schools on here that I'm looking at. I'm early on in my process, and I can choose different types of things. I can choose my interests. So like, let's say, oops, sorry, my screen's a little bit delayed over here. So I can say, if I like it, if it's one of my first choices. I really like Drexel, if you haven't noticed. I think it's a great school in Philly. So it can be nicely personalized. You can also click something called Compare Me, like I said earlier, where it will pull up different data points of the schools that are on your list and tell you if how your GPA fares and how your test scores maybe fare to the rest of their applicants. So for example, you see a lot of red X's here, but remember, it's because I didn't take an SAT. So don't see a red X and freak out. Look at all these green check marks. I'm finding schools that match who I am as a student and/or I'm above that. So this is a really nice college compare that we're seeing. You can also add more colleges here. So, okay, we can add this one again to see, finish searching. So we can see a red X, right? Like we can see that there's a red X across the board for me, which leads me to believe that, at this school is probably a reach for me. So not only can Scattergrams help you, but College Compare can be a helpful tool for you as well to help kind of manage and think about what how you want to manage your expectations. Oh, so let me go back to Colleges Home. So that's what I'm thinking about. Like I said, College Compare, you can access it from in that thinking about list or right here. There are a bunch of college resources on here, so it has a list of all the websites that we often utilize. The Common Application is the big one. If you haven't already heard of it, it's essentially where we will be submitting most of your applications, if not all of your applications as a senior. Acceptance history will show the acceptances of students that we've had in the past at different schools. over the past couple years. And then there's also a college map here, which is really nice. So you can see colleges that accepted our students, and it will map colleges. It takes a while to load. So we've had a lot of good acceptances, which is great, right? But it will map it for you to give you an idea of where to see where students have been accepted or maybe going in the past. So there's a bunch of lists here that you can see. It's very in-depth and very helpful, and can be just like a really wonderful resource for you to help with your process. So that being said, the final thing I do want to show you in the home section is if you scroll down, there's something called document resources all the way at the bottom here. We have different, I kind of call this like a Google Drive for documents, but it's our Google Drive equivalent, but in Naviance. So as a junior, let's say you need to click and you need to access certain things. So we'll have our junior packets in here. There would be different handouts and resources that will help you as you move forward with your process that you can access here. And your counselor will likely reference some documents that you can find in here as well. So this can be a really helpful resource too. So that's kind of the quick overview of the resources that Naviance does have available. Of course, if you have any questions, please reach out and to myself or your counselor, as we can help you with that. But really where you're at right now, like I said, as juniors, is exploring and trying to figure out what you want to do, what you see yourself doing, and not necessarily committing to it for sure, right? Because you still are early on in this process, but at least getting an idea and getting yourself kind of situated using this resource. So like I said, this presentation has been recorded, so I'll be able to send that out likely next week to our junior class. That way they can watch this to get kind of an overview. But as I said, please don't hesitate to reach out. This can be a wonderful resource for you. Like I said earlier, to put on some good music, make a cup of tea or coffee, get into some PJs, and start just looking around and exploring on this resource as well. So again, thanks so much and enjoy your weekend.